A viral moment on Capitol Hill this week, the Cato Institute just told Congress, give up on mass deportations.
About 1 in 5 Fairfax residents is someone who could be deported or who lives with them. It would destroy neighborhoods, rip Americans away from their spouses, parents, friends, families, customers, employees, employers, nurses, nannies, and teachers.
20% of people living in a wealthy D.C. suburbs are illegal, while 10% of the state lives below the poverty line. And we have seen countless examples of illegal aliens ruthlessly committing crimes in our country, families ripped apart, children dead. And Biden opened the doors, and illegals swarmed in by the millions. Biden averaged over 2 million border encounters per year. And that is just the people we know. And now, even Biden's DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says they should have acted sooner.
There were areas of disagreement within immigration policy and in other areas, but I voiced my views. I was very pleased that in June of 2024, we took executive action that I thought made reforms that were sensible.
If those executive actions had been taken 1 or 2 years earlier, do you think Donald Trump would be the president today?
I am not in a position to speculate, but I will tell you that I would be far more better rested and less punched.
Of course, that's all easy to say now, but when the buck stopped with him, Mayorkas assured us the border was secure.
It is my testimony that the border is secure. The border is not open. The United States Border Patrol agents are keeping our border secure. Congressman, we are very proud of our efforts to secure the border. DHS has toughened our border enforcement. It is as secure as we can make it. It is as secure as it can be.
Lies. There's no other way to say that. Joining me now, Texas Republican Congressman Chip Roy, who called for Mayorkas' impeachment time and time again. I mean, now we know those were lies. Your thoughts?
Haley, first of all, great to be on with you from the great state of Texas. And yeah, you're exactly right. This is why I did call for his impeachment right out of the gate. I was the first congressman to do so. I drafted the memorandum along with my friend Andy Biggs from Arizona, calling on his impeachment. And it took us a couple of years, but we finally got it done. We finally impeached Alejandro Mayorkas. And I think maybe it left a mark, because now suddenly he's singing a different tune, looking at what can happen when you have executive leadership, like we have out of President Trump, like we have out of Tom Homan, like we have out of now Secretary Mullen, where we're doing the right thing and we're removing bad actors, removing people who came here illegally. And that's everybody who came here illegally. And they're doing it, and it's the right thing to do, because I can promise you the people of Texas were sick and tired of seeing what was happening to their families, the children dying from fentanyl, the gangs, the cartels, people like Jocelyn Nungare, who got senselessly murdered, just disastrously in a horrific crime. And I've become friends with her mom, Alexis, who is a great patriot and has been a great advocate for securing our border. The president has demonstrated you could do it. It is absolutely an abomination that Mayorkas is even daring to have the chutzpah to come out and now talk about what, we could have done or not done. He lied to me under oath. He lied to me at the House Judiciary Committee. We were right to impeach him. The Senate should have convicted.
Wow. I mean, do you think that should be looked at? Could that be something the DOJ should look at if that, in fact, was a lie before Congress under oath?
Well, I mean, I think the Department of Justice should look into all of those sorts of lies under oath, including Mayorkas and the previous administration, who was trying to sell to the American people something that was factually, demonstrably untrue. It wasn't just a political position, Kaylee. They knew it. They were doing it on purpose. And by the way, they were also violating laws, violating our parole laws, violating our asylum procedures to flood people into our country, knowing that they would kill Americans and endanger Americans. In other words, they were complicit. They were a part of the human trafficking regime. They had blood on their hands for little girls who were raped on the journey coming up from the Northern Triangle and through Mexico. The previous administration knew what they were doing for political purposes. You don't need to look any further than the conversation you were just having with James Blair and about the political activities of the Democratic Party, the redistricting, the ridiculous map in Virginia, trying to go to the Supreme Court and getting slapped down because they have no plan for America other than political power. They have no representation in New England, and they dare to challenge us that we're trying to make our maps more representative of Republican leanings in this state. They are all about power, not protecting the people of Texas, not about protecting the people of America, and we should look into all of that.
You know, I look at Fairfax County. I just have a few moments here. 75% of murders in Fairfax County are committed by illegal immigrants. There are real consequences. But Mayorkas' subtle suggestion that he was somehow in the Oval throwing punches against Biden, fighting to do more, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Do you?
No, and Kayleigh, not only in terms of his testimony under oath in front of the Judiciary Committee, we had private meetings with him imploring him to do the right thing. And he would arrogantly and defiantly say that they didn't have anything they should be doing differently. Again, they knew what they were doing. They were complicit. There is a reason that President Trump put President Biden's picture up as an auto pen, because he knows who was actually in charge. And it was the leftists and the Marxists, and Alejandro Mayorkas was one of those. He was making the decisions as the secretary. He was allowing that to occur. And Jocelyn Nungray is no longer here as a result. Laken Riley is no longer here as a result. The American people are tired of it. They're proud of President Trump. He's secured the border. We're going to continue to do it. Next week, we're going to fund ICE and Border Patrol, where Democrats refuse to. And we're going to roll through elections in November, because the American people know they want a sane party that believes in our country, believes in sovereignty, and believes in securing the people of the United States.
Yep. Angel families across the country unfortunately paid the price. Congressman Roy, thank you very much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.